This is Epic Challenge, where we discuss, debate, and dedicate 20 minutes each week to a hot topic in the world of Warhammer. If you give a damn about tabletop gaming, then this is the show for you. Now, here are your hosts, Kicker and Nikki D.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Epic Challenge, a show that challenges your ideas on Warhammer so we can discover the imperial truth, the heresy of chaos, and the obscurity of the Xenos. Kicker, my friend, how are you this week?
You know, listening to your intro, man, it has me thinking, like, do you think Eldar and Tau think of us as the Xenos? Like, are we the bad guys in the world? Possibly. I mean, I don't know. Let's just put the world on its back foot and reassess everything. My week is going good. I'm a little exhausted because Adepticon, but, whatever. What about you? What's going on?
Yeah, and well, actually, before we jump into that, Kicker, if you're listening, and if you didn't catch last week's episode with Matt Weeks, the co-founder of Adepticon, be sure to check it out. Really cool interview with a guy who's been doing this, who's been running tournaments Warhammer for a very, very long time. Gives you some great insight into not just how that event was built, but how it's continued to grow and evolve. So, Kicker, great idea and suggestion to bring in Matt for that.
We got him, dude. We got him. This guy, like, they don't do podcasts. The founders of Adepticon, like, they don't do that. But we got him. We got him, man. So hey, let's introduce this week's.
I was gonna say, Kicker. Speaking of people that we got, who do we got for this week?
This is pretty cool. So I want to introduce someone who works with me on a daily basis, and I just have tremendous respect for. This is one of the founders of Green Banner, and he's also the head judge of all Green Banner's events, plus oversees all the partner events and the leagues. I want to mention that this guy's also a very accomplished competitive player as well. Let's bring in Jason McKenzie.
All right, Jason, here you are. Welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
Hey guys, Nick, Kicker, thanks for having me on tonight, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Jason, I mean, you are a founder of Green Banner. Do you want to talk a little bit about that history there? We don't need to go into depth, and also about your background as a judge, because I know you've done a lot of judging, TOing. You're also involved with XPZ. There's a lot going on. Why don't you just give like a quick background on you?
Absolutely, there's a lot going on. 40K is my life, both whether it's business, daily, personal, anything and everything. Right? We're thinking about it all the time.
Time out. I think I saw something on your shoulder there. For those watching our show, can you just show off this dedication you have? It's
Disciple of Tzeentch, the first love.
Yeah, there we go. That is for those listening to our podcast. That is a real life tattoo of Tzeentch right there on his shoulder, beautifully.
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite Chaos God, but it is a Chaos God nonetheless. So I approve of it.
You know what? I may have started with Tal, but Tzeentch was really my first love. But yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of Green Banner Event Co. Started a couple years ago with kind of a dream and some other partners and bringing events to local metas that really just didn't have any large events, saying, well, if we can't go to any, let's just make some. And you know what? Over time, we've really grown, and Kicker and team, and we've really set out our sights this year in 2025. But I'm kind of our head judge and format director for Green Banner. So all of the formats you see are all written by myself as a person who plays 40K 3-4 games a week, right? So it's kind of my main goal to bring that competitive to everybody. And I play on the Team USA Academy for WTC, and I am one of the team captains for Xenos Petting Zoo. So we are just in every finger is in some part of 40K in the community. Oh yes.
Awesome. Well, Jason, as is tradition here on Epic Challenge, we always have to keep ourselves accountable by kind of saying what we've done in the world of Warhammer this week, just to kind of make sure we're doing something. I got to brag. I've been trying out an auxiliary. I know you mentioned Tau. I'm trying the auxiliary cadre right now. That list because I'm a madman and simply like Kroot. I think this particular detachment might actually be better than the Kroot detachment if I'm going Kroot heavy. So we will see as I get more games under my belt. Nick, what have you been up to, man?
Been looking, trying out some new list ideas. I've been running Blood Angels Liberator Assault Group. But as my buddy TJ said, why are you playing a boring army? It really only does one thing. So I've been changing it up a little bit, trying some angelic inheritors. But I have to say, with our new data slate that we were blessed with, I've been looking at. I've been dabbling a little bit in the Shadow Legion from Be'lakor because that has a lot. That has a lot of fun. My Be'lakor is perhaps my favorite model that I've painted, and so I like to put that on the table whenever I can do so. And Be'lakor is great. Be'lakor is fantastic. So I've got a tournament coming up in a few weeks here. I'm actually wearing can't see it fully, but
Oh
it's
yeah, your colors.
There you go.
it's my Legion of Extraordinary Gentlemen jersey for the Battle to End Alzheimer's tournament that is coming up in a couple weeks. So it's an item where if you're looking, East Coast tournament coming up here, there are still tickets available, and I'll be sharing some things in a couple weeks as well about how you can support that event and JC's fundraiser and some of the other things like that. But I'm running the best list I can for that event. That's what I'm going for. But
Cool.
Jason, how about for you? What's been your hobby progress?
So hobby progress wise, this week with the experimental cadre coming out, I just got a couple games in that this week. Definitely a little different. I've been playing Retaliation Cadre Tau for the last probably year or so, right? So the second I couldn't play with like a couple stratagems, I'm like, man, what's it like to use infantry? I haven't used infantry in almost a year. A little different, right? So we just played in the California Team Championship over the weekend, a little 5-man team event here in Orange County. Nick Card and Dice Hammer run a fantastic event, and we all had a fantastic time. XPZ, as is tradition, sends 5 teams. Right, we all had a blast. Right, so that was a lot of fun. Teams is one of our favorite formats because it's so collaborative and engaging. So.
And
Fantastic.
I believe, and I got to toot our own horn. I believe Green Banner helped with some of the terrain there to really kind of level up that event a little bit, right? You guys brought
We did, but about half the I believe about half the tables were Green Banner trained. Yes, they were.
Sweet.
Good stuff. All right, kicker. Introduction.
Yeah.
Ready for this show here now? Ready for
let's do it. So Jason may not know the rules of the show, and we're only so many episodes in. So for those who are new to Epic Challenge, why don't you give them the rundown of how we operate?
Yeah, so everybody, whether you're a newcomer or whether you're back to the show, we welcome you to Epic Challenge. And this is where we discuss the hottest topics in the game of Warhammer. So with this show, one of our hosts is going to be presenting a topic of debate relevant to Warhammer community, our hobby, games, etc. And our guest, that's Jason, obviously today, he's going to be providing his informed, educated, or maybe it's just passionate opinion to help us understand, his point of view on this item. Kicker is going to be hosting. I'm going to be the other person in the challenger seat. And between the two of us, myself and Jason, we're going to look to debate here. What is the imperial truth of this? Is there deception by the chaos gods that are in play? Not that deception by the chaos gods is a bad thing, right, Jason? Obviously.
Way ahead of you.
Yeah, way ahead of us, right?
Yep. So with that, again, I'm going to be with this. Kicker's going to be asking our questions. Jason and I will be squaring off. And now, Kicker, this is the part where if I was part of the Imperium, and if I was an Imperial Commissar, I'd be putting on my hat and I'd be giving us the order to now move. Let's get this thing rolling for tonight's show.
Let's do it. Okay, guys, tonight's show, our topic is going to be judging in 40K. Now, this is always a hot topic, and it seems like it's, for better or worse, some of the biggest stories in Warhammer each month are kind of related to the, let's call it what it is, bad actors or players taking advantage of rules, or what's been really reoccurring more and more is just poor judging decisions or just flat out wrong calls made by judges. So we think in order to really improve the game, we really need to overhaul how we have judges and empower them at events, and maybe resulting in what players should expect. So topic tonight, judging in 40K. We have an amazing judge here. Question number 1, going straight to Jason. First thing, what should be clear and transparent expectations for a judge at a Warhammer event? Like, what, come on, what are these expectations? What when somebody goes and pays money to go play at an event, what are they expecting from that judge?
Well, so they're looking for somebody, number one, who's well informed, right? And one of the challenges that we as judges goes through is there's a lot of iterations of rules. The rules change every 3 months. There's a lot of game systems that don't go through balance updates like we do. I think maybe later we're talking about it, but Magic the Gathering is a very core set of rules. Is where Warhammer says every 3 months we're going to change how indirect works. Right? There's a lot of game systems that don't go through that, or it's only during an edition change. They just suffer for 2 years and they figure it out. There's a lot of games like that. But being highly well informed is always the kind of most expectations, right? If I call a judge over, I'm looking for them to adjudicate a situation. Either A, I'm not comfortable adjudicating him, or knowledgeable in a very particular interaction that I don't know. Because while the rules team has done their best to squash all those bugs, we still find them every now and then.
Yeah, very fair. And a lot of times you got a player that is, guard shooting, and I don't actually understand the melee rules, combat rules. And you're like, well, I want a judge to come in there and be impartial. Nick, what do you think? What do you do? How do you want to respond to Jason here?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and the question, Kicker, is about what needs to be transparent about the judges, going
Yeah.
into the event, but really to me, it's more so from the players and our expectation going into the event. The judge is there to be an arbiter of the game. The judge is not there to be punitive, for the players, right? The punitive responses from a judge are only coming if someone has crossed a boundary that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. The judge is there to safeguard the game and to ensure that everyone is playing a fair game by the same rules. We should not be afraid or scared of calling a judge and getting them involved with a game and the game state. And I think one of the biggest problems that I have, kicker, not with the judges, but with the players, is how many times at the end of a weekend, or you'll see this on Monday or Tuesday on
Yeah.
Reddit or
After
Facebook,
the fact.
how many people saying, "Oh, I realized I didn't ask about. I realized it afterwards that I got cheated because well, did you call or did you ask for a judge
Yes.
in the moment?"
Yeah.
If you think something is too good to be true, or if you and your opponent are having a disagreement, don't just take their word for it. Call a judge. If you're playing on a clock with your opponent, which generally you should be doing, anyways, put the clock on yourself, have the judge come over and have them give a fair ruling. That it's a part there where I think there's actually a lot of judges and a lot of events that are put into bad situations because people want to come at them on
Mhm.
Monday or Tuesday after the event.
Yeah.
So
Can't go
players,
back in
if
time.
there's you can't do it. And at that point, if there's a question, call a judge, bring them to the table, handle it then and there. Don't deal with it on Monday on Reddit. That's not the place for it.
We don't need to go
Couldn't agree
too
more.
far into the weeds here, but also something about having the onus being the player is sometimes like, hey, just call a freaking judge. If you're not sure, it's okay. The judges are a resource at the events. Use them. Jason, do you feel that the players just don't call judges enough? Do you think that that is a potential issue?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's more of a structural problem.
Ah,
I think with as with most things, right? There's a social contract at the table. I would say the average player is giving their opponent the benefit of the doubt, especially if they haven't met, that they are an average, upstanding human being. We know we would make the right decision most of the time. So I say my opponent's going to make the right decision most of the time, or he knows he knows how his army works. I know how my army works. So that social contract kind of at times comes to a head, and that's when people are too afraid to call a judge. Right? We're all nerds, right? In this space, we all tend to be a little bit more introverted, right? We're not all the same. So calling a judge is harder for some than it is for everybody, right? For me, I got no problem with calling a judge because for me, I'm going to say, you know what, man, let's take feelings out of this. Let's get a judge over here, and if he rules against me, it is what it is. You just
yeah,
got to move on.
yeah, yeah. All right. Given the answers to the first question, let's get into the specifics here. What do we, as players and members of this community, like? What would we demand to be done better with judges and judging at events? Jason, just take it. What do you think, man?
I definitely think that. So in the beginning of, I guess you could say we'll call it my judging career. I had a habit of making off the cuff calls, right? Being like, I know how this interaction works, right? Of course I do. And then I go open the app 5 minutes later and I go, oh, maybe I didn't. And I got to go over to that table and I got to go apologize. Right. The core lesson I've always learned is that when somebody asks me a question, even if I'm pretty sure I know it, if I'm not 100% sure, I can tell you exactly what page in the FAQ it was found at. I open up the app, I
Yeah.
pause their clock, and I say, let's discover this together. And then 9 times that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
So not only what judges should be doing and what I would say demand doing, there's two parts to this. Number one, I'm going to walk up to your table, and if you're going to ask me how far does a model go when he charges 2d6, I'm going to ask you, did you read the charge rules? Do you have the app open?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, players don't even look the rules up before you get to the table.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's something that I need to demand of them. But when they ask me for a ruling, more importantly, and this is the other thing I would demand, is that to be a better judge, is be decisive.
Mm.
There's nothing worse than going back and forth on something or not being confident. People pick up on that and they will tear you apart.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the judge on Reddit because somebody couldn't figure out how to make a ruling and they're going, just 4-up it. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine a worse scenario.
Yeah. Just yeah. Good point. Nick, what do you think, man?
First and foremost, before I give a different point of view, I'm going to completely agree with Jason in saying that we should be getting rid of these. Hey, we don't know, or we can't decide. Let's roll for a
Yeah,
4-up and win.
rolling a 4-up at a
Let's
competitive
get rid of
event.
that.
Oh, come
That
on.
should not be going that way. But as it goes to this answer, I think it's not necessarily the judges, but the event itself and how that is planned. Depending on the size of the event, the judges may be the people planning the event. But I think one thing that I would like to see improve generally for Warhammer games is what is our ratio players to judges? Do we
Oh,
have enough judges there to cover the tables that are in play? And ultimately, to me, it's hey, if you don't have enough judges to cover the tables and the number of players that you have, um, let's be honest, either increase your ticket price and get some pay for some judges to cover it. Because if you don't have enough judges to cover the event, your players are going to have a bad experience and they're not going to want to come back. Or that's what introduces or allows bad actors to go and target those events to say, hey, they don't have proper judging. We can go and we can take advantage of newer players, younger players, etc. Just those are not as nuances of the game. So to me, the biggest thing with judging is you need to make sure that you have not just the right number of judges, but the right number of sufficiently trained and experienced judges to be able to run the event. Because if you can't do that, would you run kicker? Would you run an event without the right number of terrain?
no, of course
That
not.
no,
You
but
don't do it. Yeah.
you don't do it, but yet there is somehow I think in this hobby there is still some experience there where it's allowable to hey, we don't have enough ready judges to be able to do this, so we don't have enough judges on the backbench. Let's up the judges. And I think to some degree on that, as it goes, Jason, you mentioned, Magic and other game systems. Judges are usually folks that are compensated, they're trained, right? There's some part that needs to go to that in order to kind of up the professionalism of our game for Warhammer, which I think is what most of us want to get to. I think that's another consideration that needs to be kind of talked about and considered more broadly as well as how are the judges there? Are their expenses, are these people here? Are they judges that are to be in a professional setting?
You
That
know,
would be my other consideration.
Yeah, and you know what, and to add on to that, this is one of the biggest issues I've had of the last couple of years is that more judges need to play more 40k.
yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
frankly,
Okay,
I
well, no, explain that. Explain
there
that,
Not
Jason.
and not the event that they're actively judging, but yes.
Yeah.
correct, right. So you're right. I've mentioned kind of my background, right? I play on the Team USA Academy. I'm involved in the front lines on Xenos Petting Zoo. I play a lot of high level Warhammer. I run into very unusual rule scenarios that maybe the average player does not run into just because of the nature that I play current 40k all the time.
That's the
So
thing
I'm
is you play your
familiar
core
with these
40K.
scenarios.
Yeah.
There are many, and this is, you know what, there are many events, right, that have been going on for 10, 12 years, right, or maybe even less, 5, 6 years. And a lot of times the organizers, they're just organizers. They don't even play Warhammer anymore. Or they do, right? Yeah, yeah. I got my guard army, my 2,000 points of guard that I play once a month, right at Thursday night fights, and I kind of keep up with things, kind of don't. And then they're walking up to the table telling you what you can and can't do. There's a total imbalance there,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Jason, this also is going to allude nicely to what Nick had mentioned previously. We'd all discussed previously that there's also sometimes a lack of judges. So TOs, organizers might just go find Joe Schmo, a friend that they know that played 40K at one point in high school. Like, hey, will you come be a judge? And all of a sudden now you have somebody that is causing the backload of indecisiveness,
Yeah.
4-ups. We don't know. So it's
Looking for
like,
a warm body.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So you have this situation where you got a lot of events where maybe they are trying to fill the need for judges, whether because they've only got one good guy, or maybe they don't have any good guys, and they just find kind of anyone that is unfortunately not an active player of 40K like yourself, Jason. This actually is going to go really nice to question number 3. Other game systems like Magic the Gathering have judge training programs and qualifications, credentials, certificates you have to get. Does 40K need to be more have more of a professional expectation, some sort of a requirement for judges? Because maybe that's where we need to go. Some sort of hey, this is a standardized system. This is this is an official judge. What do you guys think, Jason?
So first of all, I mean, from my perspective, especially as head judge with Green Banner, kind of my concept is if you're going to come pay money to come play at my event,
Yeah,
you're going to get the best judging that you know is going to be there,
yeah,
because your experience is tied to my performance. Especially, is what's going to happen is if you have a bad experience, you're not going to come back. I don't want that. You probably don't want that, and then I want you to come back.
yeah.
It's very simple. But kind of going on with that, yes and no. I'm on both sides of the fence here. We absolutely need more professionalism in judging. Viewing this not as just your friends hanging out at the event. There's people who took time off. They paid money to be here. They
Hmm.
got on a plane from 3 states away only for them to show up and then me telling them they can't Overwatch and that I'm wrong. That's a horrible interaction,
Yeah.
right? It feels bad for everybody involved. So I absolutely do think so, right? And having programs like that, and more of it is just connection. A lot of times, there's a lot of people who want to be TOs, but they don't have the right resources to do it. Hopefully, in the future, we're doing something about that. But that's a big part of it. And the other kind of reason we want to do that is everybody has higher expectations when they come to an event. They know that when they call a judge, that they have somebody reliable who's going to make a decisive rule. They're going to figure it out correctly, because a lot of them they might not know how to interact in that scenario, right? And with that, the professional expectations, something that really gets missed is the social diplomacy skills of judges.
Yeah.
It is a soft skill that really is not mentioned. I can tell you, most of the things that end up on Reddit or online, YouTube after the fact, is because something did not get de-escalated at the tabletop properly, right? And to be fair, these situations are tough, right? Look, I'm not. Judges aren't getting paid $1,000 an hour to put on de-escalation classes, right? They're here to adjudicate the game, be an arbiter, right, and be a professional. But without teaching those soft skills to those who don't have it, there is a way to do that.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think? Do we need magic level of judging or judging qualifications in place?
We need some level, and I come from a background, and I know even just some of the many prominent judges that are in the Warhammer community, a lot of them are coming from, they don't just judge in Warhammer, but they also judge in things like youth sports, right? And I grew up playing sports, right? And even if you were umpiring, even when I was a 12-year-old or 14-year-old, whatever it was, umpiring for an 8-year-old's baseball game, I had to go through a judging course. Like, but that was an expectation of the community, right? To have that.
Right.
So, and
Solidarity, minor A and minor B, 2 years.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did. There's a whole umpiring course. You go for 6 weeks for like an hour a week. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think what I would love to see going forward is to have some kind of identification or bifurcation by the community and by the event organizers to say that, hey, yes, we do have a trained judge.
Yeah.
And I think in my ideal situation, or as I think about the players that are prominent in our community and that are trying to move this game forward in a way that's based on fair play, that I think we'll see those players that are really pillars of those community, that they're going to be the ones that are gravitating towards those games, to those events that are having truly trained judges for them. So that's kind of pie in the sky. I realize that we're probably a ways away from that, and that growth is often not linear. It often it's like the warp. It's going to be kind of a bumpy ride there, Jason. As you and I are chaos faction aficionados, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but that's where I would like us to see. Can we have a trained judging program? Can events start to identify themselves as, hey, we do have trained judges? And then from there, what happens with those events? Are those events bringing a better caliber of play, a better caliber of players to the game? Because I think it's going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Man, this is good. This is good stuff. Okay. We have a wild card. I don't know if our show notes reflect the wild card that I'm going to ask, but just yesterday, first of all, I want to preface this with saying judging is just as important to the event as terrain. Judges make or break an event. This is a fact. People will not go to an event or will not return back to an event if their judging experience is poor. As Jason had mentioned previously, people are paying a lot of money and taking time off of work. I just had a player yesterday call me out of the blue. I don't know this guy. Reached because he was at an event, not one that I was not associated with, but he reached out and explained to me how frustrated he was because it was a 6-round event. He won all 6 rounds. Path to victory changed. Long story short, the guy should have won, but there were some issues in the background, and turns out there was a poor judging call when it came down to trying to determine the overall winner. And in retrospect, it was all acknowledged, and yes, it was done correctly, but he didn't win. And it's ruined his experience. He's never going to an event run by that organizer again, and he's pissed off, right? I mean, he spent money, he traveled, and he rightfully should have won, but a judge mistake caused him not to win. Do we need reverse penalty cards? Like I said, I've been told horror stories about judges. Do we need to find a way to maybe potentially give a judge a yellow card? You can only make so many mistakes. This is a living rule set that we're playing. Mistakes are going to happen. Things are going to change. But do we need some sort of way? Maybe this goes back to what we were talking previously about keeping our judges accountable, or knowing that there are certain caliber that are currently up to date on current rules and formats of events. Jason, what do you think?
So I actually heavily disagree with that,
Okay,
which may be a surprise.
not
But,
wild
but
card
for
question.
me, culture-wise, the culture that I foster within Xenos Petting Zoo, my daily life and work, is to basically punishment should almost ever be a last resort.
Yeah.
Yellow cards make people feel bad. They
Ah,
feel
yeah.
funny, right? My question for somebody would be, hey man, I'm gonna go talk to them about. There's a lot of people that felt you performed poorly. How do you feel? Right? And how are you going to do better next time? And if they don't respond positively to that, then you can show them the door.
Yeah.
You don't even need to punish them. If you're not going to be in a scenario where you want to, as they say, a rising tide raises all ships, then maybe this isn't the culture for you.
Yeah.
Because by just punishing people, you're not really you're punishing them to bring them up when we should just be bringing them up to bring them up,
Ah, yeah.
not necessarily punishing them. So that is my belief. Um, so yeah, if you guys got different opinions, let's go.
What do you think, Nick?
I kind of agree with Jason, and I think about like professional sports as it goes to this. Like you look at professional sports, and hey, maybe they're doing it wrong too, right? They certainly could be. But when you look at professional sports leagues, they all have grading systems for their referees.
Mhm.
That is not publicly displayed though, because like that could have an impact, and it's different. Like if you're looking at a basketball game, and if there's a referee that scores poorly based on calling a certain type of foul, could that influence betting lines and other things like that in the game? Sure, it absolutely. There's a number of reasons that go into why they don't have those, but internally within the referee support systems or within the referee training, they do have remedial items for referees, or they may have, like the Super Bowl is famous for this, where hey, a referee blows a call, like they may say this referee is not going to be in consideration to referee the Super Bowl because right, and like, but that's a sort of thing where, as Jason said, that's kind of a last resort, and not the Papa Roach last resort, but this is a hey, this referee can't it's a big enough issue where we're not going to have them doing the big game until they go through some remedial steps. So it's a part that I certainly understand. I think a lot of it too, kicker, is kind of heat of the moment. And I think ultimately, the situation there that person, that player, where it was noted or acknowledged there that there was a refereeing disagreement or something that they acknowledged in that part of it. I think those are the steps that we should be taking. And I do applaud events where they are, things are not perfect. Referees are still human. It's not going to be perfect. But when we can acknowledge that, hey, yeah, something happened. This is how we addressed it. And this is what we're going to do better by the players next time. I think those are instances where it's going to feel bad for that player. But at the same time, we should applaud that handling after the fact as hey, we're making everything whole at the same time.
Nikki D, I'm very much aligned with you. I think it's a ridiculous. Obviously it's a wild card. Just trying to have fun with it. I don't think we're going to give a judge a yellow card. I think though, what we need to really try to focus for judges and organizers and even players. It's a game. Mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's own up to our mistakes. That's all. That's all I really think is. Yes, there could be a mistake happen. Yes, a judge can make a bad call and it could change the entire outcome of a tournament. Just own up to it. We're gamers are very savvy. Like the community that plays this game is going to see through the bullshit. Just be transparent. It's okay. We made a mistake. We move on. We acknowledge. We apologize, and we focus on trying to do better in the future. That's kind of
in kicker too. The thing here too being like integrity based, right? Everything being like, if you're wrong, just say you're wrong.
Exactly.
Right. And here's not just that, just from a general standpoint, we're a small pond in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Right. Look, at the NFL, when you got granddad screaming through the Super Bowl, saying, what the heck was that call? Right. It's a referee. He's got a family, a little bit of a parasocial relationship. Here in 40K, we all know each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We're all friends outside of Warhammer. Right. So make sure you remember everybody's still human. But if you screw up, just say you did. I'm sure there's a solution to that, and move forward with it. Right. Because we're all friends here.
Yeah.
And that's not changing anytime soon.
Kicker, maybe the yellow card penalty should be that the judge just has to do karaoke, the yellow card song "Ocean Avenue."
I mean, listen,
Yeah, and
I
just
still
in front of the
listen
whole
to
crowd.
that song a lot. So yeah, I'll appreciate that. We will have probably a cool PA system at all of our events. I know. So yeah, all right, cool. Let's do it, Jason. All right, let's take this one out. Hey, where can we find you, Jason? I mean, I mean,
Hold
do you
on,
want?
hold on,
Oh,
Kicker. Before
one
we do
more?
that, we have to ask one more wild card
Oh, we
question.
got to do it. We got to do it.
It's an
I
important
thought I
one.
saw it on the notes.
It's
Do it.
we're
Do
doing
it. All right, do it. Do it.
all right. So Jason, who we're talking about judging, so we got to ask this. Who is your favorite judge? It can be Warhammer, it could be Warhammer war, lore, fiction. It could be
Yeah.
non-Warhammer. It could be Warhammer people you know in real life. But who is your favorite judge?
Oh, I can absolutely answer this, and he'll be happy to hear his name. So his name is Jeremy. He goes by Curie online.
Yeah.
He's one of the judges for larger GW events, and
Yeah.
he's been instrumental in my growth. Even on when weekends, when we first started doing like California Cup, he was available like the whole weekend. I'm like, yo, dude, I got this like really weird interaction. I don't understand how it works. Can you help me out? And he was there for me the whole time. He helped me with format in the beginning and kind of getting my feet off the ground. And if he gets to hear this, thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You're a man. You're the real man, dude. Appreciate it.
I will second. That guy. Everyone loves that guy, and for good reason, man. He's one of those guys that's dedicated to the community and is also really, really freaking competent. So very
Yes.
fortunate to have him part of our community. All right, Nick, who are you thinking about?
I got two in mind here.
All right, do it.
So we're talking the judge.
Yeah.
Judge Dredd. Come
Of
on.
course,
Gotta
I
do
knew
Judge
it.
Dredd.
I knew you were gonna go with
Right?
that one.
I love the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie as like it's terrible movie, but I love it for being terrible. But
Yeah.
the Carl Urban one from 2012 is legitimately fantastic. I've read some of the comics, and they're also a mixed bag that's there. But Judge Dredd, and then my other favorite judge, Judge Philip Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Come on. He is like
Oh,
anybody who grew up in the 90s, he
ooh,
was their like second or third dad. Judge Philip
yeah.
Banks. Stephen Avery, the actor, has since passed, but that was one where that was someone that was based on fairness, someone that was based on fair play, someone that was harsh when they needed to be, which is what a judge is going to do. But ultimately, he was making sure that his group, his family, that they were going to be placed in a position best to succeed. He was also a very mean pool shark with Lucille. So, Judge Philip Banks, that's my answer. Kicker, do you have one? Is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. Judge Judy, all the way. I don't know why. That's just a part of my life growing up. Judge Judy, all the way. All right, let's get out of here. Where can we find Jason McKenzie? Where in the world do you live online? Where can people find you if they want to ask you questions? Because you are a very valuable resource. If people have questions about how to format an event, how to write a player packet, maybe it's a question in the middle of an event and they need help badly. How can they reach you, man?
Absolutely. Well, one of the best ways to reach me is probably through Kicker because you know everybody and you can connect them with me
I will
as we
connect with
do
you.
plenty often. But just to plug my wares, guys, check out all of our Green Banner events at greenbannereventco.com. We got so many coming up. I'm so happy to see all my friends again over there at the USA Charity Cup coming up here next month. But if you can make it out, we'd love to have you.
Sweet. All right, next week, guys. I'm going to Adepticon. Super excited. So I'll be a little exhausted, but I believe we have a Warhammer hero lined up. Nick, is that correct?
We do. I have him locked and loaded. One of my favorite people in this hobby. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be very, very exciting to have him on board. So, Kicker, you're gonna be busy at Adepticon. I'll be busy running around doing something. I don't know. It's been a little while since I've sat on the hobby desk. As I was, if you're watching, I was kind of looking at my finger here and there a little bit. I've healed over. I scabbed it over. So I may get back. I may get back to doing some more Warhammer painting myself. I think I'm looking to do that. But I'll add here, Kicker, you and the team and as we've got Jason, Green Banner Event Co. have been adding a lot of events to the schedule. So do please go and check out. It's greenbannereventco.com. Is that what it is, Kicker? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Okay, I said
You
it.
got it memorized. Look at you.
There we go. There we go. I was doing the Ron Burgundy with a question mark at the end, and I didn't even need it. So greenbannereventco.com, I've heard a lot of people, looking and asking, or even just as I've seen on Facebook groups, Kicker, when are you having an event in this spot? So I think, Jason, really great to hear from you as well in this episode. The judging and the experience that players should expect, that they are going to be having a great experience, a great competitive and fair experience when they're going to Green Banner Event Co. events and having that part of an expectation. So go and check that out, folks. But that's all that we've got for this week. So we appreciate you joining. Jason, thank you for accepting our epic challenge this week. Thanks for being our guest. We'll look to have you on at some point here in the future, maybe before some other large Green Banner Event Co. Happenings. We'll have you back around that time. But thanks everybody for joining this week. If you're going to Adepticon, go and find Kicker, say hello, give him sugary breakfast cereal, and then we'll see you after that. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to Epic Challenge. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like, share and subscribe. And be sure to check out Green Banner Event Co., the ones who help make this show possible. Tune in next week for another Epic Challenge.